In this video, I'll show you how to make a horizontal scrolling section on your Elementor website. And we'll make this without using Elementor Pro or any other extra plugin. Sounds good? I'll also show you how we can add parallax effect inside that section, how to add this rotating effect, this nice reveal animation, the progress bar, and so many other things. And the best part is, you can place this horizontal section inside anywhere of your page. So when you reach to the horizontal section, you can start scrolling horizontally, and after finishing that part, you can again scroll through your other content. Cool, right? So without any further ado, let's see how we can make all of these things. Alright, so you can see I have already created some sections here, and I'm not going to detail on how we made these sections. We'll focus on how we convert them to a horizontal scrolling section. So by following this process, you can make any of your sections into a horizontal section. And by the way, if you're also interested to get this exact same page with all of these end results, you can also get it from my template shop, where you will get both the container and the old section column version. And with this, you also don't require Elementor Pro or any other thing. So here we split this video into easy 4 steps. First, I'll show you how to convert it to a horizontal scrolling section. Then we will add parallax and rotating effects over that. Also, I'll show you how to add click to scroll option and the custom reveal animation. Lastly, we will make it fully responsive, where on mobile, we can also either enable or disable this horizontal scrolling. I'll also give you a tons of custom options to control all of these things and give you a perfect flexibility. Okay, right now let's jump into our step 1, make it to a horizontal section. So here I will keep our this top and here this bottom section as a normal section, and in between that here we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 sections. We'll convert them to a horizontal section. So for that, we need to first create a container, and we will place all of these 4 containers inside that container. So first let's click on this plus icon and create a new container. Make it to full width and also full height, 100 VH. And also make sure to keep this direction to column and justify content to the start. And here, before starting, I want to say one thing. You need to follow each of my steps very carefully. If you miss any of my steps, this whole thing may not work properly. Okay? So here, let's also make its overflow to the hidden to make sure any of its content will not go outside of this container. Here we can also see some padding, so let's also remove that. Now inside this container, we also need to take another inner container. So if we go to here, let's drag a new container. And like before, we also need to make it to full width and also need to remove its padding. Here, if we open this navigator panel, from here we can also see this container here. Okay, let's also make its direction to the row, because inside that I want to place all of these sections side by side. And in between them, I also don't want any gap, so make it to 0. And also enable this no wrap option. Now inside this container, we will place all of these 4 containers. But before that, make sure to configure some settings of these containers. So go to our first container, and the first thing we need to make sure to give its width to the full width. And here by default its width will be 100%, but here we don't necessarily make it to 100%. Instead, if we set it to auto, then it will automatically take width according to its child. So to make it auto, from this custom option, write down here auto. Okay, after the width, we also need to make sure to give each of their height to 100 VH. And from here, also make sure to give the size to grow, otherwise this will not working properly. Okay, let's do that with our next container. With this one, make it to full width, auto. Here it's already 100 VH, so let's leave that, and also make it to grow. And do the same thing with the other containers. Okay, we have done this with all of these 4 containers, and here these 4 containers is basically our top level containers, and if we have any container inside that, I mean the inner container, you also need to look at that. Here is one of our inner container, and for any inner container, make sure to give its content width to full width, and the width will be either auto or a fixed width in pixel. Here I want to set it to auto because you can see for this child element and also for this one, I have set a fixed width. So when we set it to auto, it will be automatically set the width according to its child. Okay, so from this custom option, make it to auto. And here the things will not working properly until we paste our custom code. So don't worry about this broken layout. Okay, then here we can see another inner container. So for this one, you can see I have already set an fixed 180 pixel width because here I want to make it to a 180 by 180 pixel full square. Okay, then let's look at the bottom, and here we find another inner container. For this one, I also want to set a fixed width. And here on the right side, if you look at each of these cards, you can see I have already set a fixed width for each of them to 30 pixel. So if we find any inner container above that, we'll make all of their widths to auto, so it will be auto adjusted according to its child. Okay, we have set all of these containers properly. Right now, let's place all of these inside this container, basically this one right here. So I just want to copy every container and paste it right here. Copy this, paste it to here. We have pasted all of these 4 containers, and let's delete the previous one. So right now here you can only see this first section because all other sections are going on the right side outside of the screen. So to make it work, first we need to go to this top level section, this one, and here just write down a class name, mdw horizontal scroll, and then we need to paste some custom code. So for that, let's search for an HTML widget and drag it to right here, right under this container here, and let's paste this code snippet. Don't worry, I'll give all the code snippet to my website and also give the website link to my description. So from here, you just need to copy and paste that code. Here this HTML widget is not visible, but also to make sure, I want to make it to white from all of the devices. Okay. So right now, if we scroll down, we can see all of these sections on the right side, and this horizontal scrolling is also working fine. And on the preview page, you may see some white space on this right side. Don't worry about that. If we update this, and from our preview, here if we scroll, we cannot see any white space here, and it's working properly. Okay, everything looks good. But here we can see this text looks too wide. For this kind of long text, if we make them a fixed width, then it will look more perfect. So for this heading, I want to give it a fixed width, 1000 pixel. Basically we have here 2 headings. So for this one also, let's make it custom width, 1000 pixel. And if we set here some padding, that will also looks more beautiful. So 130 pixel, perfect. Then on the right side here, if you have an image like this, let's make this a full height image. So if we look at this image, and from here we can see previously it was an full width image. So right now I want to make it a full height image. So make it to 100 VH. And I want to set its width to auto, so it will get its width according to the image. So right now this looks great, but here we have 2 minor issues. Here if we scroll down very quickly, we can see an white space below this section here. And another issue is when you scroll, we can see a thin line between some of our sections. So we can see a thin line on here, and the other looks good. So let's go to the edit page. And here as we see this thin line here between these 2 sections, so let's go to this right section here, and I want to add 1 pixel of negative margin on its left side. So this section is pulled over this previous section to hide this line. And then next, to solve the white space problem under this section, we need to go to this top level container here, And with this, we need to set a background color similar like our this section. So if we go to our this section, here we can see we have set a dark color here. So let's just copy this color code and go to this container and make its background color to this dark color. Okay, right now we can see everything is perfectly working without any issues. So we have done all of these things. Now before going to step 2, you can just pause this video and recap all of these points. So on the step 2, I'll show you how we can add parallax effect inside this horizontal section. So here, for example, I want to add a parallax effect with our this image. And normally for parallax, we can just go to advanced, and from here, this motion effect, we can use this scrolling effect option. But this one is only available in Elementor Pro. And in case of horizontal section, if we use this, it will not working. So instead of this, we will use a custom class to make it work. So let's just write down this class mdwhs movement translate x20, and now it's started moving with our scrolling. And you can also change this movement speed. So instead of 20, if we write down here 50, you can see now it's moving more faster. And also when you scroll down, we can see it's moving from the right to the left side. So if you also want to change this direction, you just need to add dash reverse, and now it's moving on this opposite direction. Okay, and here you can see translate x, this part. So here instead of x, if we just write down y, now on scrolling, it's moving on the y direction. And it's also possible to move it both on x and y direction. So for that, we need to add both translate x and translate y class. So for the first one, just make it to x. And for the second class, here after that, let's put a space and just write down mdwhs movement translate y 20. Here just remember that when you add 2, 3 or multiple classes, you need to separate them by a space between them. Okay, now we can see it's going both x and y direction. I want to keep it just like the default translate x and copy this class. With this image, I also want to add the parallax effect. So I want to make it a little bit slower, make it to 10. And for this third one, make it to 30. Now with different parallax speed, this looks like a real 3D parallax effect. Here, I also don't recommend you to use too many parallax effects inside a page. That can make your page more laggy, especially on low configuration devices. Okay, then I also want to add a rotating effect. So here with our this heading widget, I want to add a rotating effect. Here we cannot see it properly, but if we see it from here, here is this. Basically, here we have converted an heading widget into a text path by using some custom JavaScript code. So here to make the rotate effect, we need to add a class mdwhs movement rotate 10. And let's check it. We can see this cool rotating effect. So here from this class, with this digit, you can also control the speed of this rotation, and like before, you can also add dash reverse to change the direction. Okay, right now we are in step 3, where we will add click to scroll option and the custom reveal animation. Click to scroll means when you click to a link, it will scroll to you a specific section. So normally it can be achieved by using the ID and the hash link. But if your target section is inside this horizontal section, then the effect is not working. So to make it work, we need to use class name instead of using the ID. So here, for example, when I click on this heading widget, I want to scroll to this section right here. So go to this container, and here you can see we have already an existing class. So I want to put a space and write down here mdw section 2. And instead of this mdw section 2, you can put any class name you want. Just remember to make its name unique, otherwise this class name may conflict with other existing classes. From here, we just need to copy this class name and go to our this heading widget and put it here as a link. So after the hash symbol, paste this class. Right now if we click on this, we can see this scrolling effect is perfectly working. Then next, let's also play with another example. So here, when I click on any of these two links, I also want to scroll down to this section. And here also, as this target section is inside this horizontal section, so here instead of putting an ID, I also want to put an class name, MDW section 1, copy this and just paste it to here after the hash symbol. And here this one is also perfectly working. Okay, next we will see how to add a custom reveal effect with our elements. So here with this container, I want to add that reveal effect. Go to this container settings, and first of all, from this motion effect, we need to make sure to give an entrance animation like fade in, and I want to make it too slow. With this, we achieved only the default fade in animation. But to make it more fancy, we also need to add a class name with that, MDW reveal animation left. Now when it's become visible inside the viewport, you can see this cool reveal animation. And also instead of from the left side, if you want to make this animation from the top, bottom or the right side, you can use these alternative class names. Okay, here all of these things like this reveal animation, this parallax or rotating effect, all of these are not only working inside this horizontal section, but if you use this class name with any elements outside of that, it will also perfectly working. So everything is almost done. Now finally, we'll go to our step 4, is checking the responsiveness of this. So first let's go to our tablet device. And here we scroll down, we can see this scroll effect is functioning properly. We don't necessarily do anything, but if you find any design related things, you can also modify that. Like for example, here I think this font size is too big, so I want to make it much smaller. And when I make this, we can also see this goes in 2 lines. To make it again in 3 lines, we also need to modify its width again. So let's reduce this. Now that looks good. Like this one, you can also adjust the other design related things like the font size, the gaps, the padding. Here this images looks too big. So you can fix all of these kind of things. So after changing all of the designs, let's also check it for the tablet with a little bit of lower height. So we can see everything is looking good. But for this one, we can see this card is almost goes outside of the section. So instead of place them in 2 rows, I want to place all of them in 1 line. Let's go to this parent container here and change the direction to row. Now that looks good. Lastly, check it on mobile. And here you can see all of these layouts are broken very badly. This happens because all of these containers width has been changed. Basically, by default, Elementor sets all the containers width to 100% on mobile devices. But here we need to make it which value we have set for its desktop or tablet devices. So for example, with this container, we can see it's 100%. Previously, we have set it to auto. So let's write down here again, auto. Then with this inner container, we have also set it to auto. Then here with this one, we need to make it 180 pixel. Okay, now we can see we have fixed this section. And like this, let's fix all the container and inner containers. So we have fixed all of our containers and also modified some design related things like the font size or paddings. Everything now looks good. And here I think at the top there is too much empty space. So we can place them vertically, make the direction to column. Perfect. So here you can see we have disabled this parallax effect for our mobile devices. So if you look at this HTML code, and here you can see this option, disable movement mobile is set to true. That means we have disabled the parallax movement for our mobile devices. If you set it to false, it will be active again, but I highly recommend not to use that because for some mobile I can see it looks too much laggy. So I think it's better to keep it off for the mobile device. Here you can see also another option, disable horizontal scroll mobile. So with this, you can even disable this whole horizontal scroll option for the mobile devices. Some people don't like horizontal scrolling on mobile, instead they want to keep it as the normal section. So to do that, simply just set it as true and save it and reload this page. Okay, now we can see these sections as a normal sections for our mobile devices. And when you do that, you can see we have also break some of our contents. These are basically some design related things which is not too hard to fix. You can do it yourself. But the thing I want to show you is with all of our these top level containers, previously we have set the minimum height to 100 VH, but here we don't necessarily have to do that. We can cancel that out just by making it to 0. Here also for our this section, make it to 0 or 70 VH or whatever you need. And here if you look at this image, you can see we have made it an full height image. But in this case, I want to make it a full width image. So again, go to this image settings and make the width here to 100% and make the height to auto. And let's quickly change all other things. So now everything looks good. Now finally, we need to check it from wider mobile devices. We can see here we need to position them in vertical position. So go to this parent container and make this direction to the column and also these align items to the center. And everything is almost good except this one. Here we also need to fix this using the direction option. Okay, now everything looks good for all of our devices. So that's it for today. If you learned something new from this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. That really means a lot to me. Thanks for today. I'll see you on my next video.